It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey, how's it going? It is Wednesday, September 2nd, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. Today we'll get some coronavirus updates, protests in Germany and Thailand erupt, and realizing from the Tuesday morning message. So, same question I ask every single day is, how are you guys doing today? It's already Wednesday. We're at the middle of the week, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far. Great Wednesday. Thanks for all of you for joining us here on the Morning Star Drive, but looking forward to listening to the great songs tonight. So let's start it well with this show. Just to remind everyone, keep liking and commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. And remember, this week's Sunday edition, I interviewed Aaron Aubrey from America, who's currently living in Japan, so make sure to catch that interview. And next Sunday edition, we'll be meeting a real Japanese member from Japan. Well, because Aaron is not Japanese, but he's American living in Japan. But next week, we're going to meet someone who's actually a Japanese member, so look forward to another inspiring interview. So let's get into the featured artist of the day. Today's featured artist of the day is Renee Lai, and the reason why she's up today is because a new song just came out on her YouTube channel. It just came out on Monday, so it's a song in English too, so those of you in the English world will be able to understand this song. It's a song covered. It's from Christina Aguilera, and the song is The Voice Within. So look forward to this awesome cover of this song. Secondly, we have Rise in Japan Radio, and this song, one of the most popular ones on this channel, is Universe, and from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. We're going to listen to the post-rock artist on this label, which is fan favorite. It is Xeniac, and Xeniac, the song we're going to hear is Plutonium. So let's support our members, these artists that are members from around the world. Listen to their music, and also please pray for them as much as you can. All right, let's begin the show.
Young girl, don't cry. I'll be right here when your world starts to fall. Ooh, ooh. Young girl, it's alright. Your tears will dry. You'll soon be free to fly. Ooh, ooh. When you're safe inside your room, you'd send to a dream of a place where nothing's harder than it seems. No one ever wants to, but us to explain of a heart that life can bring and what it means when there's no one else. Look inside yourself like your oldest friend. Just trust the voice within, then you'll find the strength that will guide your way. If you learn to begin to trust the voice within. Young girl, don't hide. You never change if you just run away. Ooh, young girl, just hold tight. Soon you're gonna see your bright other day. Oh, in a world where innocence is quickly claimed, it's so hard to stand your ground when you're so afraid. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. When you look outside, look inside to yourself. When there's no one else, look inside yourself. trust the voice within, then you'll find the strength that will guide your way. You'll learn to begin to trust the voice within. Ooh, 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 ooh. Life is a journey. It can take you to anywhere you wanna go. As long as you're landing, you'll find all that you'll ever need to know. You're breaking, you're making. Just don't forsake it, because no one can stop you. You know that I'm talking to you. When there's no one else, look inside yourself. Like your honest friend, just trust the voice within. Then you'll find the strength that will guide your way. If you'll learn to begin to trust the voice within. Young girl, don't cry. I'll be right here when your world starts to fall. Ooh, ooh. 운명을 이해하지 못한 소년의 말 차마 그걸 사랑한다 말하지 못한 소년의 말 아무것도 사랑하지 못한다 말하지 못하고 다만 가로 내젠 빛에 부유하던 소년의 말 그늘 노래하는 목소리는 떠나보내지 못했지만 멀어져가는 태양의 적색 별이 어쩌면 그건 빛이 흘리는 비가 내 안에 널 보내어 무너진 열을 모아 얼음 조각에 스며 내 마음을 열어보여 결국 난 이렇게 희미한 존재이지만 너 완성에게 도망 곁에서 별같이 너를 떠올릴게 언젠가 사라지더라도 기는 너의 곁에 남아 하염없이 손을 뻗어 얼어버린 눈물이 녹이게 뒤돌아보면 안 된다고 기도했던 너의 기억에 남아 다시 한번 불을 지펴 잃어버린 진실을 찾아 나설게 머나먼 땅까지 너를 두고 떠나야 했던 그날의 향기가 지금도 나를 파고들어준 실수도 없을 만큼 괴롭긴 한데 언젠가 돌아가면 오랜 기억 더듬어 내가 있던 자리에 네가 되어 내릴게 땅이 열리기를 가자 일어나고 위대한 발걸음으로 아픈 이별이라도 나는 떠나야 했어
And that is Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates. She is the post-rock artist. I'm not even sure what post-rock is, but she's good. And I hope you guys really, really enjoy her music. I don't even know if it's him or her, actually, to be honest. I really have no idea, but she's good. Or he's good. Or they are good. I'm not sure what it is. Great song. That second song, too, Rising Japan Radio with the song Universe. And that first one, a new song that just came out, a cover for Christina Aguilera, The Voice Within, and that was from Renee Lai over there in Taiwan. You guys can go ahead, and I believe it's called Renee Sings. I believe that's her YouTube channel, but I posted it up in her Sunday edition interview if you guys are interested in subscribing to her channel. Also, she has a SoundCloud channel too for those are for the new songs also, so go ahead and check that out and subscribe and follow as much as you can. So that brings us into the coronavirus updates for today. Got a couple of updates. In the world at the moment, 25.6 million cases, 854,000 deaths. It's at 3.33% mortality rate. The U.S. well under the global rate with 3.02%, 6.2 million cases and 187,000 deaths. Brazil's at 3.9 million cases, 121,000 deaths at 3.11%. And India, 3.6 million cases, 65,000 deaths and 1.77%. Russia, 995,000 cases, which means they're going to hit the 1 million mark probably by the end of this week. 17,000 deaths at 1.73%. They're back in the mix because they are back in the top 6 for the daily infections, and Peru has kind of stepped out. Colombia, 627,000 cases, 19,000 deaths, and the only country today where the mortality rate has gone up from 3.19 to 3.2%. Argentina, 417,000 cases, 8,600 deaths at 2.07%. And Philippines, 220,000 cases, 3,500 deaths at 1.61%. They went down from yesterday. And Sweden, big drop down to 6.88%, and Belgium down to 11.61%. Let's look at the daily infection rates for the day. For yesterday, 68,000 cases, and in number 1, as usual, it is India with a 2% increase. Next is Brazil. They take the second spot again, 48,000 cases at 1%, and of course, the top 3 is topped off by the U.S. at 38,000, which is the lowest in a long time, 1% growth rate. Then after this, we have Argentina at 9,300 cases at 2%. Colombia at 7,200 cases at 1%, and then Russia comes in with 4,900 cases with a 1% increase, and that is the top 6 for the daily infection rates for the day. So what's happening in the current news? I said there's a protest going on in the world, and of all places, there's one in Germany, guys. There's a German protest. This is very rare to happen in Germany. Things seem that they were pretty stable and going well, but the protests are about the coronavirus measures that the government is taking, and the people believe there's no real danger, so people don't want to follow the social distancing. They don't want to lock down, and it's really interesting because it's a huge mix of people. It's kind of like America too, where you have like these protests coming out, but within the mix there's this really, really small group of like far leftist groups that are there. In Germany's case, it's far right, right? So the alt-right is also mixed in this very, very small group, right? And of course, the majority of the people are refuting any affiliation with the far right, even though they also support and believe in the same conspiracy theories and as the far-right activists. So there's not just protesters out there, but there's also counter-protesters who are also present, demonstrating that people should be social distancing and wearing masks. Berlin police disbanded these protests eventually. This was all going on last week, and there was about 18,000 people in central Berlin. So this is not a small protest, it's huge, right? There were also smaller protests in other areas too, but in central Berlin, that was a big one. Fires and bottles thrown at police. It was mayhem, right? Protests from the far-right activists clash with police. So what happens is basically you have the regular group of people that just don't want to lock down, and they don't want to follow like the full measure, and they think that the government's kind of overdoing it. And then the protests from the far-right activists are the ones that kind of go in and clash with the police, and they even managed to get all the way to the steps of the Reichstag, which is the government building, right? But of course, the police stopped them from going in. So thousands upon tens of thousands showed up with one belief that the government measures went too far. And that is a big mix of alt-right activists and also with regular people. People, yeah, they all agree the disease. They're not denying the disease, but they just believe it's not as bad as they say. So people are more about the spread of the disease. People know that the spread of the news reports about how deadly the spread is, but not the actual danger of the disease itself, right? Especially because it's mainly affecting people in the older age group. So despite arrests, thousands still marching. So this is actually quite shocking for Germany, to be honest, for the German population to see these types of protests going on, especially when it comes to the Reichstag, which is the government building. It's supposed to be a place of freedom and a center for freedom. And also the interior minister at that time was talking about, since they're breaking the law, they want to punish everyone to the full. So the police definitely overwhelmed at the beginning, but eventually took care of the situation. And of course, what the government does agree is everyone has the right to disagree with the coronavirus measures. They have the right to do it, but no one should put police officers in danger, right? So this is kind of what the majority of the people are saying. Everyone has a right to disagree, but no one has a right to put the police officers into danger. So there was another protest, was like 38,000 protesters, and it's the same thing. It's not just the far right. It's just people worried about the consequences of the new coronavirus measures and how it impacts their lives and their living, right? So what's the interesting thing is there was also old German imperial flags, like back in the time of Hitler, right? German imperial flags were out and about too. And that's kind of like very similar to the Confederate flag to the U.S. But these people also said it's okay for them to show it because that's what freedom is. So they don't really have a problem, like they don't agree with it, but they don't really have a problem of it because that's what freedom is. They're allowed to bring out this, even though it's a flag that shows that dark time in history. They said that's freedom. They can show it because that's their freedom to do it, right? Thailand also, there's protests going on mainly by students, which is very, very interesting. In Thailand, there's protests going on, and they're protesting for democracy, right? They're calling for freedom, and they want a fair election because they said the last election was, well, not just them, but other countries are saying it wasn't a fair election. So the Thailand Prime Minister basically telling everyone to come back together or else this country will be destroyed, and people shouldn't just fight against the other. And people shouldn't be consumed by just who is right and who is wrong, but understand that there's going to be a massive loss and the country can be destroyed by this protest. So yeah, but this is from the Thailand Prime Minister, whom everyone said the election was rigged. Also, another big thing that they want to change, and the students want reform in, is they want to change the laws that protect the monarchy. So there is a monarchy over there in Thailand, and there is a king, and he's got very special protection. So it's basically like anyone who says anything against the monarchy can get up to 15 years in jail. So a lot of students they want reform in the monarchy, and the overhauling of draconian defamation law, lawsuits or laws that protect the king. They want to reform a lot of different things. Most of the movement is online because of the coronavirus, but now the government is trying to block Facebook and going against the Computer Crime Act. And this is kind of a similar system for everyone, which doesn't really mean it's the right system. They're just saying that they basically hold everyone to the exact same standard. And activists, they're mainly students, as crazy as this is. They said if there's no change, they're going to protest again next month. And that is Thailand, which is, I'm here in Malaysia, and this is our next door neighbor. They're right next door. So it's pretty shocking to hear that that's what's going on over there. It makes me very grateful to be here in Malaysia. Those of you who don't know, we just had, today's the 2nd of September. So yeah, Merdeka was Independence Day was 2 days ago. Yeah, but then we do have Malaysia Day coming up on the 16th, I believe, of September. So that's pretty cool. And just to let you guys know, just want to let you guys know, I'm not saying this for no reason. This just want to let you guys know that my birthday is coming up next week. And my spiritual birthday is at the end of the month. Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but hey, just want to say that. It's like a pity party. No one says happy birthday on my birthday, which is not true. I'm just joking. So let's move on to a time of praise and worship. We're taking a look at 3 songs today. We can praise and give worship and give glory to the Holy Trinity. The Lord is my hope and joy, the Lord's word of this time and my life. And I hope that we can continue with this praise and worship as we go into tonight's service.
Life without the Lord, how could we live? No one could live like that. Without fun, without hope, oh, what kind of life is that? Since the Lord is my hope and joy, I'll always follow. to all of the world. Please, love, testify for me. Then the Lord God will be with you, speaking through your lips every day. You will be moved by the Spirit. She'll enlighten you. Life without the Lord, how could we live? No one could live like that. Without fun, without hope, oh, what kind of life is that? Since the Lord is my hope and joy, I'll always follow. The Lord is my pride. He's the source of my confidence. When the Lord's new word of this time enters my soul, fills my heart and thoughts, the prophecies of the Bible, all of them are fulfilled. People say what they will, but regardless, I will follow him. Here I'll stay with the Lord, serving him to the end. I'll walk this path always. For the Lord, let's testify, singing new songs, let's rejoice. For the Lord, let's testify, singing new songs, let's rejoice. When the Lord's new word of this time enters my soul, fills my heart and thoughts, the prophecies of the Bible, all of them are fulfilled. People say what they will, but regardless, I will follow him. Here I'll stay with the Lord, serving him till the end. I'll walk this path always. For the Lord, let's testify, singing new songs, let's rejoice. For the Lord, let's testify, singing new songs, let's rejoice.
and I carry 1,000 years of hopes and dreams in this boat with me, knowing that someday they'll come to be. I am to life. More than words alone I speak through deeds. Although my eyes and body are small, I can understand both this world and the next. I see everything my hands and feet are hands and feet of fire. They're more than I can use in just one life. I'll live without regret. Yes, I will use my life for my family, nation, the world. For more than just myself, I'll live for heaven's will. I will live for God without regret. I carry 1,000 years of hopes and dreams in this boat with me, knowing that someday they'll come to be. I am more than words, I bring them to life. More than words alone I speak through deeds. Although my eyes and body are small, I can understand both this world and the next. I see everything my hands and feet are hands and feet of fire. They're more than I can use in just one life. I'll live without regret. Yes, I will use my life for my family, nation, the world. For more than just myself, I'll live for heaven's will. I will live for God without regret. I'll live without regret. Yes, I will use my life for my family, nation, the world. For more than just myself, I'll live for heaven's will. I will live for God without regret. I will live for God without regret. I will live for God without regret.
And that is a great time of praise, and that song was My Life. I hope you guys really enjoyed singing those songs together and giving glory to the Holy Trinity. The Lord is my hope and joy, and the Lord's word of this time. All right, so let's go into a time of going in a little bit deeper into the Tuesday pre-dawn message. And a couple of really good points in there. Obviously, there's always good points in here, but a couple of really good things I really enjoyed. First and foremost, it almost seems like the answer is being given to us, and basically in the message, it's hard to be successful if you don't wake the pre-dawn. right? And it's like, wow, and we all know this is true. This is true. But it almost seems like you want to be successful, then you have to wake the pre-dawn. And in that time, that is when you receive the word, and it's a time which that time is the covenant. So that is symbolic of the covenant itself, that pre-dawn time. So the word is so powerful because during that time, when we receive the word, we are listening to the way to be successful. And it was like, in the message is like, let me teach you how to be successful. You cannot be successful without waking the pre-dawn. It is a promise to us that if we put the words into action, if we hear those words, put them into action, then it's a promise that we will be successful, right? And the pre-dawn is the actual promise. So when I was thinking about this, something came to my mind is, like, we're looking at this pandemic coming right now, and some countries are doing well, some countries are not doing well, but I realized a lot of it is determined by our pre-dawn. Just the way that something was saying, it was mainly like, hey, you guys got to wake the pre-dawn. This is where the success comes in. But if the brides of God aren't waking the pre-dawn, then how can there be success in the country itself? Where that is supposed to be like the basic, right? That is supposed to be something where the promise between you and God, where God will promise you blessings, right? If you look at I talked about this a little bit yesterday when I was going into the book of Genesis, and one of the biggest themes is covenant. But the interesting thing when you look at the definition of covenant, it's not just a promise between two people, but it's conditional too. It really is. It says there's conditions that need to be met in order for this covenant to be fulfilled. And it makes sense because it's like if you have a contract, under the contract is you need to pay all the money by this date or it no longer belongs to you and I can sell it to someone else. Like there's stipulations with this covenant, this contract, this promise between two people. Because it doesn't really make sense if it's like, hey, let me bless you even if you don't do anything. That's like getting paid for not even doing any work, right? The listening to the word and praying for your country to do well. We need to do this in the pre-dawn, right? And it sounded almost like a wake-up call because it's obvious, it's something we all know about. But all of a sudden he went like 10 minutes into it, like, you guys got to wake up. You got to wake up. You know, felt like a wake-up call for every country and all the brides in each country. It almost feels like God is speaking to us. This is something that may not even be happening very well in each country, and this is why a lot of the things are continuing to get worse and worse. But as the brides of this history, we have to be the ones that wake the pre-dawn, pray to God about the situations going in our country, where God will listen to us report about our country to him. And something I really think it was a real big wake-up call that he didn't have to say that, and it almost felt like it was God saying it more than anything else. Because if you think about it, what does Sunday spends all his time in his in Wilmington, the whole time, his natural temple, the entire time. How would he know how all the different countries are doing when it comes to pre-dawn and everything else? It had to be the Holy Spirit. It had to be God speaking directly to our hearts, and it came during the time of the message. So I really think it's something that we have to re-look at also. And it's something that we need to rethink of how we got to do this. We live longer with the pre-dawn. And I'm like, how do you live longer? Does that mean I live longer? And he's like, no. He's like, you wake up 2 hours earlier. You do 2 hours more 2 hours more per day in your life, which means it's going to be like anywhere from like 15 to 20 extra years of your life if you keep doing 2 more hours each and every day. So if you kind of like think about that, it's quite interesting. I didn't actually make the calculation of this. I should have made the calculation, but it's like you have 365 days. You times that by 2 hours, which means that's 730 hours. Wow. Okay, that's 730 hours, and let's just say that most people come to this history when they're in their 20s. They're going to live for another, how many years? 40, 50. How many years would they live extra? They're probably going to live an extra 40. No, that means only live till 60. They probably live another 60, 70 years. Let's just say 70 years. Oops. So if you had 2 hours times 365, and then you times that by 70 years, because you'll live to around 90. It's 51,100 divided by 365. Is that right? Divided by 51,100. 51,100 hours. So there's 24 hours in a day, which means if I divide this by 24, this means it's going to be an extra 2,129 days. If you divide that by 365, it means that's like 6 years right there. 6 years, if that's just 2 hours. Depends on what time you wake up too, right? And depends what time you go to sleep or how much sleep you limit yourself from having, right? So it's pretty interesting. Like even if we did it even from right now, yeah, we'd be adding years to our life, right? 5, 6, 12, and basically Sun's been doing that since he was 15, right? If he's been doing it since he's 15, man, that's even more. The message also had something about needing a sign for the covenant, right? Need a sign. And the good thing about the sign is it reminds us of the promise. And the example he gave was of the rainbow. But the interesting thing he said is the rainbow reminds us, but even God is reminded because there's a rainbow in heaven. Even God is reminded about it. This is how tremendous the covenant is to God. This is how much it means to God. This promise, this covenant to God means so much that even God is reminded. There's a rainbow there reminding him about it. And we will be blessed every time, right? Every time that he sees a rainbow, we get blessed. So here's the thing is, the next thing that was pretty intense, right, that happened right after that was, well, what do you see when you see the rainbow? Do you just take a picture? Does it end there? It's a reminder. So what do you think it means, right? It depends on how you see it determines the blessing. You see how crazy that is? How you see it determines the blessing itself. Right, the rainbow in Japan was a sign after the Japanese prime minister that's resigning, right? And there's a rainbow that happened on the same day, or was it the day after, right? It is a reminder, and we have to understand it. We can't look at the rainbow and say, "Oh my gosh, look! Oh, it's a rainbow! I gotta send it! I gotta send this picture." No, it's more than this. What does it mean? Is it just a pic that you take? Does it end there? It is a reminder, and we need to know what the reminder is. What is the promise that God has given to us too? And there are many times, like I told you the story about when Sunsi was in England, he saw the rainbow, and it was about there will be life in England, and that's something we have to really, really recognize really well, right? So I hope that you guys too had an amazing time listening to that Tuesday message, and I hope that it'll be something that you guys can think about even more deeply. We got the great songs coming tonight, so we can talk a little bit more about that later. And of course, right now we're going to go into the song of choice. Now, this song of choice, I just heard this song yesterday, and I've listened to the song about 25 times. Okay. Now, this song is a Korean song, and I saw this on this interesting YouTube channel called ODG, and it's about these little Korean kids, and it's a reaction where they have like these children aged from like 6 to 12 years old, and they meet these like new upcoming like famous pop stars and stuff. They're not famous yet, but they're new and upcoming stars or people that are not well known yet, and they kind of give their honest opinion about the song. They'll sing it right in front of them and stuff, and they'll give their honest opinion, what they think about it and stuff like that too. In this particular video, I posted a link in here too. Well, what happens is there's this singer. His name is Shin Yong-jae, and he's from a group called Four Men. It's not very known, not well known, but he's becoming more well known because he's a great singer. And in the scene, it's these kids that are in a singing room, a norebang, right? They're in a singing room, and they're asking the questions like, "Oh, do you like singing?" "Oh, I love singing. This is. Would you want to be a good singer?" "Yes, I do." And then they told them that there's some man coming from work who's just gonna sing a song and leave. And they're like, "Oh, okay." So this guy Shin Yong-jae comes in, and he's not very famous, right? He's not like one of these super good looking guys, right? Just walks in a business suit, and he says, "Hey, you mind if I sing?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And the song he sings is one of their songs called First Line, 첫줄, right? The first, like say the first line of a poem, the first line of a sentence or whatever it is, right? That's the name of the song. And such an amazing song. I was so moved by it. I was really moved by it. I was like, wow, what a great song. What a great singer too. And I heard him sing it live too. He sounds exactly like that album, literally. I saw an actual live performance. I was like, whoa, he's really, really good. And you guys can look at the video because on the video it has subtitles. It's all in Korean, but it's got subtitles. But some of the lyrics are like, "You who lit up my dark heart, I was alive because it was you," right? So he talks about in countless scenes in his life, if I were to choose one, I would close my eyes and I would meet you, right? So he says, he would throw away all of tomorrow just to be with this person. And obviously I'm thinking about the Lord at this time, but great song. I was really, really moved. It says, talk about the bright sun, the warm air, and I embrace you on that day to say I love you and I won't let you go. Maybe I'm just getting really like old and I'm getting like more sensitive to this type of thing, but it was really moving. I was really, really moved by it. So I'm gonna play this song. It's called 첫줄 or First Line, and it's from a singer named Shin Yong-jae.
어느 눈부신 햇살 아래 너를 닮아 따뜻했던 공기 둘이 하나가 된 그림자 바람 같던 너의 숨소리 조각난 기억이 하나 둘 떠올라 왜 몰랐을까 소중했다는 걸 수많은 장면 중에 하나를 고른다면 난 눈을 감고 널 만나 한 줄의 기억 그 짧은 시간 속 우리를 고가늘게 수많은 장면 속에 가장 아픈 기억 나 그날로 돌아가서 놓지 말라고 후회할 거라고 말할 거야 어두웠던 내 맘 불을 켜주던 너 그게 너라서 살아있었던 나 수많은 장면 중에 하나를 고른다면 난 눈을 감고 널 만나 한 줄의 기억 그 짧은 시간 속 우리를 거짓말 같았던 눈부신 너와 사랑한 모든 날이 아파서 추억 끝에 너와 살아가는 날 잠시라도 좋아 모든 내일을 버려도 갈 수 있다면 저절로 돌아가 내게 난 말해줄 거야 눈부신 햇살 따뜻했던 공기 그날의 너를 안고서 사랑한다고 놓지 않겠다고 말할 거야
And that is First Line, and that's from Shin Yong-jae. He seems like a relatively new singer. He's really, really good though. But his live, he sounds exactly like live. But if you guys want to go see that video, I put it in the link description. That's the one for ODG. It's about the kid. It's really amazing when you see these kids react to how good this guy sings. So it's really, really good. So let's move into a time we can go into the final stories of King David. Okay, so we're going to go into the final stories of King David. So this is after he has his son Solomon, right? And after the big mistake he made with Bathsheba. Okay, so let's go more deeply into the story about King David. So this is after David had Solomon. But you need to know that David also had many other sons. and 3 of whom, which was Absalom, Adoniah, and of course Solomon. And they became prominent in the history of Israel. Now Absalom was handsome, ambitious, and charismatic. He believed that he was destined to be king and feared that his elderly father would pass the crown on to his younger brother Solomon. And so he rallied some of the greatest warriors and advisors and led a revolt against his father. News of the revolt broke David's heart. And instead of confronting his son in an all-out war, David once again fled on foot with some of his loyal servants. Absalom was determined to chase down his father, and a bloody battle ensued. Realizing that his father had the upper hand, Absalom fled in terror and dismay. And as he was riding through the woods on his swift mule, his long locks of his hair got caught in the spreading branches of a large tree. Unable to extricate himself, he remained suspended, and his mule had escaped. One of David's servants brought this intelligence to Joab, King David's general, and he gave the order that Absalom be put to death. Even though Absalom had caused great troubles for his king and his father, David, nonetheless, King David grieved and mourned for the death of his son. Unfortunately, Absalom was not the only son to seek the throne. Adoniah also had grand plans to obtain the crown. But King David put an immediate halt to any other usurpers by having Solomon anointed and pronounced king of Israel. Later on in David's life, he did something wicked in the eyes of God. He called his general Joab and asked him to count his men. And this was considered evil in the eyes of God, because in the time of Israel, counting your men or counting anything signifies that it belongs to you. But the people of God, the army of God, they all belong to the Lord. When David realized his fault, God gave him 3 choices: 3 years of famine, 3 months of being routed by your enemies, or 3 days of plague. And he said, please do not let me fall into my enemies' hands, so I give them to you. And he chose 3 days of plague, and 70,000 people died in those 3 days. King David was not just another figure in history. He lives on to this day. One of King David's greatest works, and arguably his greatest legacy, was the book of Psalms. During his spare time, King David would study the Torah and sing songs of praise to God. And the book of Psalms has been a refuge for the Jewish people in their times of trouble throughout history. Whenever Jews are in distress, they open up the book of Psalms and cry out to God. And it has been the same for those in Christianity. And this is the story of King David. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this story, and we can move on to Solomon. Maybe we can start it this week, and or start it from next week, one of the two. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoy these Bible stories, and we'll be able to continue to do some more. I'm hoping to maybe even do some general summaries of the Vietnam books also, but we'll see what happens there. Okay, so what does that mean? We're here at the end of the podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed it here. I had an amazing time once again, just preparing and doing this for you. I'm just really thankful to God, actually. One thing I'm super thankful for is, I know in my head, I'm like, the more I do this, the better and easier it's going to get. And at a certain point, guys, I was like struggling because there just would be some difficult stuff, like changing the video into audio, and like some of the programs don't work because it was the file was too large, or I'd be waiting for a message, and then all of a sudden, it would just go really late. And sometimes I'd be finished at like 2 a.m. for these podcasts. But, God has really blessed me. And one good thing that I did was I was able to start doing these things a lot earlier. So that's something I was really grateful for. I get these things all done a little bit earlier so I don't have to go late into the night. I found a fix to that program that changes the files from like video to audio and stuff like that. And I also was able to find newer ways to do things in a much quicker way, so that I'm not using up so much time, especially late into the night, so I don't have like these really bad prayers at pre-dawn, right? So I'm super thankful to God that He has kept His promise. I think He spoke through my lips when He said, the longer you do it, the better and quicker and faster and more efficient you can do it. So now I feel like I've reached a new level in doing these podcasts. But very grateful, very thankful for all of you. Everyone, have an amazing service tonight with the great songs, and we'll see you guys again on Thursday morning. Bye-bye.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me